JB and my boy Sammy are just ripping on the goalie right now.
I feel some
Come
guilt.
on, you got to bring some love to Leaf Nation. Tell them it's not as bad as it seems, and this is just a little blip in Matt Murray's season. Go.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with what Sheldon Keefe said about where the goals came from last night on Murray. They were all really close to him. I didn't think that the goals were particularly bad in any way. What I do have concern about is the structure that he plays with and how robotic he is and how rebounds just bounce off of him. And it's upper body, it's lower body. They tend to sit there. And I'm not sure how sustainable that's going to be when you start to play against better competition. It's going to get to the net as often as other teams will when they're better teams. And right now you can call Buffalo a better team. Alex Tuch's back in the lineup. It changes everything for that team. They were 2-5-1 without him. So, I mean, I've never had a ton of confidence, unfortunately, in Murray, especially knowing that it's been several years since he's been at his best, and with the injuries involved, I wasn't sure how he'd be able to elevate his game this season. And so am I concerned there? I mean, yeah, with Murray, I think Samsonov has been fine, though. He's not the most crisp goaltender. He's not the most technically proficient, but he's had a pretty good year so far. So, I mean, if you're thinking about who's going to ride into the Stanley Cup playoffs, I just hope that the Leafs don't fall victim to thinking that, hey, we've got a guy who's won 2 Stanley Cups. We have to put him in the net. I hope they're playing whoever is best when it comes time for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
How much do you think that Matt Murray's struggles can be rust, can be coming back from injury? Like, he hasn't had any consistent run of play in a while. I just thought watching him versus the Oilers, there's the 4th goal. I don't know if you saw the Draisaitl one-timer that he doesn't quite get across the net on. There's the Kane wraparound. Like, it's stuff to me that, like, Mike, like, you make those saves, right? If you're out there. I don't know if it's rust or what it is, but I'm looking for a way to say that, like, he can find that again, but boy, it's pretty concerning.
Well, it hasn't been there for several years, and
Okay,
that's really
great.
been my knock. You can go back to even our conversations a year ago or less than a year ago when the signing took place was you need to see Matt Murray play a little bit of street hockey out there. And that doesn't mean to completely abandon technique. He has really good technique. I mean, I think he's done a pretty good job of narrowing up the stance and doing some other things this year to try to address that. But you're right about the fact that he's not dynamic, and the Kane wrap, I think the Kane wrap, you can really look at that as a play where a guy's driving the net and you have to seal the ice, and he hasn't played in a while. And like you said, you can't just walk back in a lineup after a good week of practice and be a phenomenal NHL goaltender, I don't think. Like, I think it does take several games to make that happen. So I do think there's a little grace period where you need to allow with Murray. I think you still have 1 or 2 more games and practice weeks here where he should be getting back to where you'd like to see him. But if he doesn't free up those hands and doesn't start collecting pucks on his chest and shoulders and putting them either in good areas or getting whistles out of those, yeah, man, I do have concerns because that's the same Murray that we've seen over the last couple of years.
What is the 16 games to go? So how do you kind of see this thing playing out? You're saying, I hope they go with the hotter goalie or the better goalie. And that's based on the body of work for Murray in the last week of the season, the last 2 weeks. How much do you need to see for him to take over a Game 1 scenario? Because Samsonov's been so much better over the course of the 82-game season.
Well, that's what you're alluding to is where I'm at as well. Unless Murray just knocks the doors down in the next couple weeks here, it all goes towards Samsonov to me. I mean, you would have to see Murray go on a run where he's putting up about a 940 over the next 7-8 games that he plays to really think that this is the guy that needs to be in the net. But I've seen this before, man. Like, think about Minnesota last year when they traded for Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't know if Cam Talbot lost more than 1 game in his last, 18 starts for Minnesota last year. It was stupid. And he got stuck on the bench. And that's not to say that Fleury had come in and played poorly or anything. It's just that he was Marc-Andre Fleury. And people and goalies that have a precedence, that have a reputation, they get a lot of leeway. Like, I see that in Vegas right now, too. He's Jonathan Quick. What happens if you get Logan Thompson back or Laurent Brossoit or Aiden Hill before playoffs? There's going to be a strong push in the front office, guys, to go with the goaltender that's won a couple Stanley Cups. But the play has to be there to support it. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm arguing for, and I'm not sure if Murray can pull that off in this short amount of time, given the injuries he's faced this year.